Welcome weebs, I hope you are ready for your new favorite anime. The tale begins in a garbage world where demi-humans are treated like dirt, enslaved and oppressed by humans. Banaza, the protagonist, stood out as a rare beacon of kindness, treating demi-humans with compassion. His actions earned him scorn from humans who said he was a traitor, and even the demi-humans warned him that his idealism might get him killed. Still, Banaza clung to his dream of a world where everyone lived together in peace, even if it felt impossible. Out of nowhere, Banaza was summoned to another world, chosen as a hero candidate for the magical kingdom of Clyrode. But this wasn't a fairy tale, it was a war zone. The kingdom had been yanking people from other worlds to fight the Dark Army in a never-ending battle. Banaza's arrival caused disappointment when the summoners discovered he had no divine blessings or flashy stats, just a regular dweeb. Meanwhile, another candidate with godlike stats of level 999 stole the spotlight as the kingdom's Gigachad. Banaza wanted to go home, but the king crushed that hope, revealing the summoning gate was shut tighter than a Christian girl's legs.
Life could be worse.
The kingdom tried to make up for their blunder by offering him a quiet place to live in the Delavisa forest, with the added catch of keeping their screw-up on the diggity down low. On the long road to the forest, Banaza's escort treated him like an unwanted chore, but his relentless kindness eventually cracked through their cold exterior. He learned this world was different. Humans and demi-humans coexisted more peacefully here than in his home. For the first time in a long while, Banaza felt a flicker of hope. After 20 grueling days, Banaza reached his new home, equipped with basic supplies and a grim warning. The Dark Army roamed the woods. Alone, armed with nothing but a sword, he ran into what seemed like harmless slime creatures. But when they lunged at him, he barely survived, breaking his weapon in the process. To his shock, leveling up didn't show numbers. It displayed a strange symbol. Curious and confused, Banaza activated voice notifications. To his disbelief, he discovered an arsenal of magic spells far beyond what his weak ass deserved. Among his belongings, he found a monster lure spell, realizing it had caused the slime attack. Banaza quickly removed it, questioning how such dangerous magic ended up so casually in his hands. In this bizarre, unpredictable world, Banaza's ordinary life was over. He had no choice but to face the unknown, armed with strange powers. Banaza was having one hell of a time in that cursed forest, warned about a nasty buildup of militium, a substance that screamed danger. Feeling like a complete loser, he reluctantly tried a purification spell, expecting it to fizzle out because, let's face it, he thought he had zero talent. But damn, the spell unleashed some insane magic, blasting through his weak mindset and leveling him up like crazy. Back at the castle, things weren't much better. The princess was pissed, calling out the kingdom for dumping Banaza into that death trap of a forest. The king, ever the charming asshole, brushed her off and labeled Banaza as the village cuck. Meanwhile, Banaza had continued his own Giga Chad training, hitting level 367 without even swinging a sword. His stats kept showing some weird-ass symbol, but he shrugged it off, hiding the notifications while marveling at how his magic seemed endless. Life as a forest loner wasn't cutting it though. Banned from town because people were suspicious of his magic, Banaza started experimenting with his abilities. Shape-shifting, teleporting, you name it, he had it. Realizing he'd never get his old life back, he rebranded himself as Fleo and joined an adventurers guild, hoping to start fresh. Things got spicy when Banaza, some stuck-up royal knight, called Fleo a liar, doubting his teleportation claims. Fleo, sick of the bullshit, teleported the whole group to prove them wrong, leaving their jaws on the floor. Just as they were starting to grovel for forgiveness, Fenrys, a demon with a notorious sibling, showed up, making things worse by spewing militium everywhere. Banaza and her crew tried to fight, but Fenrys shut them down with her demonic tricks. Fleo, immune to the hellish substance, feeling like an anime hero, teleported everyone to safety. Determined not to stay a sidelined reject, Fleo decided it was time to own his power, master his magic, and prove to this messed up world that he wasn't just some useless cuck. They'd be calling him a Gigachad soon enough. Fenrys charged like a rabid beast on Red Bull, claws flashing like she was auditioning for Demon Slayer. Fleo vanished with instant transmission because teleportation magic is OP. He reappeared behind her like an anime protagonist in a dramatic entrance scene. She spun to strike. Fleo raised an earth wall just in time to stop her bitch-ass tail. Wasting no time, he yeeted her into the sky with a wind spell. She wasn't done yet. Fenrys teleported, hoping for a surprise attack, but Fleo's reaction speed was in Ultra Instinct mode. A gravity spell slammed her to the ground like the universe itself said, nope. She thrashed and cursed, her confidence cracking under Fleo's OP magic. When Fleo's interface AI suggested using slavery magic to control her, Fleo shut it down immediately. Desperate, Fenrys tried one last escape spell, but Fleo countered it like he was flexing on a PvP noob. Out of mana and pride, she collapsed, begging for death. Fleo, refusing to be edgy, dispelled the gravity magic and offered her mercy like a true shonen hero. Confused, Fenrys staggered to her feet, wondering why he'd spare her demon-slaying, blood-drenched self. Fleo delivered his power of friendship speech. Victory isn't about taking lives. It's about ending the fight. Cue dramatic anime music. Fenrys reverted to her human form, now vulnerable and naked, classic anime logic. Without missing a beat, our favorite cuck sprung into action and covered her up. Searching for spare clothes, he glanced back to find her already fast asleep because apparently, mana depletion equals nap time. He tucked her into a tent and sighed, being a virgin was exhausting. As the campfire crackled in the forest's eerie quiet, Fleo scrolled through his spell list like a gamer checking skill trees. When Fenrys woke up, groggy but alive, she asked if he'd used healing magic. He reassured her she was safe, radiating dad energy despite being way too young for that title. Fenrys, moved by his mercy, suddenly declared herself his slave. Fleo nearly choked. Nope, not happening. She darkened, claws ready to take her life because of tragic backstory reasons. Fleo panicked, bargaining like a man trying to dodge commitment. Fine, stay with me, just no weird ownership stuff. She brightened instantly, anime sparkles and all. As night deepened, Fleo spilled his tragic origin story, summoned to be a hero, dumped as useless, and banished to die in the forest like yesterday's trash. Fenrys, unfazed by the melodrama, vowed loyalty with unshakable anime resolve. Fleo, touched by her sincerity, accepted, earning a spontaneous emotional hug. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the supposed hero returned with news of a massive loss against the demon army. He blamed the knights for being weaklings who ran like NPCs in a bad escort mission. The king, suspicious, turned to a surviving knight who spilled the tea. The hero had fled first, leaving everyone else to die like a true battle royale dropout. The king face-bombed, realizing his kingdom was in serious trouble. The next day, Fleo took Fenrys into the city, playing the classic pretend we're married trope to avoid suspicion. They hit the Adventurers Guild, where Fenrys got her adventurer's tag, matching Fleo's rank. She practically sparkled with joy. Just as things were looking up, an emergency quest came in. Monsters headed for the city. The guild receptionist promised big money for each kill. Fleo suggested skipping the quest like it was a side mission he didn't care about. Fenrys, unimpressed, basically said, "Man up." When he pointed out that even the hero failed to stop them, she scoffed. "He's a poser. You're the real deal." Reluctantly, Fleo agreed. They teleported to the forest and found a makeshift guild base. Before they could even enter, they heard screaming. The same group of girls Fleo had saved before was under attack again. Seriously, ladies, invest in personal security. One of the monsters lunged at Muscle Mommy Banaza, who fought back despite her injured arm. Fleo fried the beast with anime lightning magic, making a dramatic save. Fenrys crushed another monster with a casual one-punch KO. Just when it seemed over, a last monster lunged at Fenrys from behind. Instead of attacking, the monster begged for mercy. Fenrys, showing unexpected softness, decided to keep it as a pet. Fleo conjured a collar, transforming the beast into a bizarre dog-rabbit hybrid because anime logic. Later, they headed inside the base, where the girls introduced themselves as Banaza, stubborn muscle knight; Archer, fiery redhead with attitude; Witch, mysterious hat wearer, definitely hiding OP magic potential. The witch asked Fleo to train them, revealing that since the hero quit, the knights were left defenseless. The king ordered all knights to get good ASAP. Fenrys immediately got jealous girlfriend vibes, not wanting to share Fleo. Sensing the awkward tension, pulled that "she's my wife" card, making Fenrys beam with joy. With that settled, they agreed to start the world's weirdest boot camp. Fleo woke up to find Rhys sitting by his bed, staring with the intensity of someone debating breakfast murder. He remembered her insisting they sleep like a married couple the night before. Flustered, he mumbled something about needing formalities before going full beast culture husband. Rhys dismissed his human nonsense. No ceremonies, no contracts, just vibes. Reluctantly, Fleo agreed to share a room but laid down the law. Separate beds, like my divorced parents.
Emotional damage!
As Fleo changed, the door slammed open, and Banaza stormed in like she owned the place. She froze, taking in Rhys in her just woke-up state and Fleo mid-shirt tug. Her brain short-circuited. Face redder than a flame spell, she bolted faster than a rogue NPC in a glitchy game. During training, a still flustered Banaza tried introducing herself to a boar demon instead of attacking it. The boar, unimpressed, charged like a Black Friday shopper spotting the last TV. Muscle Mommy swung with her usual gusto, only to enrage the beast further. The witch's magic shield barely held it off, while Archer's arrows bounced off like dollar store darts. Meanwhile, Fleo and Rhys watched the chaotic scene from a nearby bar, sipping drinks with casual detachment. Back home, Fleo decided to set up fluffy beds for the girls. Rhys, proud of her hunting skills, had left raw boar meat in the kitchen. Fleo, preferring not to eat like a caveman, roped Banaza into cooking. Together they prepared a meal of salad, rice, and steak. As everyone gathered, Riss eyed the salad skeptically but was soon shocked by its crisp freshness. The steak's tenderness left her in awe, and she grudgingly admitted she'd have to up her game next time. The next day, Fleo and Riss traveled to the capital to sell the boar demons. Whispers filled the air as people realized Fleo was an S-rank hero. Uneasy with the attention, Fleo suggested they downplay their strength. Riss agreed and they split up for errands. While Fleo browsed the shop, a furry royal messenger showed up with news. The king wanted to make him an honorary knight to lead the demon war. Fleo noped out faster than a cat avoiding water. "I'm good thanks," he said, walking off like side quests were beneath him. Later he found Riss looking slightly crispy with singed hair. Alarmed, he asked if she'd been attacked by a demon. She sheepishly admitted she accidentally caused a fire in a cooking class. Classic Riss. I guess not all women are good in the kitchen. A month passed in relative peace, though the king's messengers became a regular nuisance at Fleo's doorstep, persistently trying to recruit him for the hero's party. Each time, Fleo slammed the door on their faces, enjoying his simple, if unconventional, life. Fleo checked on Muscle Mommy, who was farming with the doggy's help and had grown fresh produce but had stopped training. Riss tried to help the archer overcome her fear of shooting living things by using beast chicken meat as motivation, but it failed. Fleo gave the witch a magical ring to boost her low mana, asking her to test it. She considered wearing it on her ring finger, thinking of Fleo, but Riss threatened to cut her hand off if she did. Banaza pretended to be helpless, but Riss swiftly sliced her in half, warning her to stop the act. Banaza denied it, but Riss exposed her, telling Fleo she was trying to act weak for his attention. Riss then sensed someone spying on them but found no one. Later they enjoyed a meal cooked entirely by Riss. Surprised by how much better it was than raw meat, they asked if she had used magic or robbed a restaurant. Riss explained that she had been taking cooking classes in the capital and improving through practice. Everyone enjoyed the meal, but Riss focused on Fleo's opinion. Watching him closely, she was thrilled when he praised the food, saying he could eat the whole pot. Her happiness was cut short as a spy watched from outside. The beast, Eulimenes, recognized Riss and suspected she was plotting against the hero. Before reporting to the Demon King, Riss appeared behind her, terrifying her. Eulimenes was brought inside and Fleo offered her tea, which she accepted but immediately burned her tongue. Riss didn't waste time with small talk. She straight up asked why the hell the Demon King's lackey was snooping around the forest. Eulimenes, jittery as shit, muttered something about investigating demon deaths when she stumbled across Riss. Calm as ever, Riss admitted to offing the demons when they attacked, adding that she now lived peacefully with Fleo, her husband. That word left Eulimenes looking like she just swallowed glass. Trying to play it cool, she nervously burned her tongue on tea again. Eulimenes couldn't wrap her head around how Fleo stayed so chill around demons. She tried reading his stats, only to fail miserably. She turned the topic to the northern forest, where demons had apparently vanished without a trace. Fleo, with his usual "oops, my bad" energy, explained that he'd used purification magic on the forest, accidentally wiping out the demons. Eulimenes froze, her face darkening as she spat out that one of the dead was her brother, a damn wolf warrior and one of the Demon King's top generals. Riss shut her down fast, her tone sharp enough to cut steel. Fleo, looking uneasy, asked if Riss knew. She shrugged it off like a loner who couldn't give a shit, saying her brother should have been smarter if he wanted to survive. Despite the awkward moment, Riss reassured Fleo, claiming his kindness was exactly why she loved him. The witch, sitting nearby, fainted like a loser when it clicked that Riss was the legendary wolf who nearly wiped out their kind. Meanwhile, Eulimenes, pissed as hell, challenged Fleo to spar. The fight kicked off with poison spells, magic circles, and cheap demon tricks aimed at Riss. Fleo snapped. He shattered Eulimenes' magic like a glitched boss fight, pinned her midair, and laid down the anime ultimatum: mess with Riss again and you're done. He yeeted her out of the forest like discarded DLC content. But Eulimenes wasn't done playing the fool. The next day she came back, dragging a whole-ass dragon army for revenge. Fleo, far from intimidated, lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. In a flash, he unleashed a lightning storm that fried most of the dragons to ash, leaving Eulimenes slack-jawed and defeated. The Demon King's so-called strongest force, reduced to nothing but smoke and regret. Muscle Mommy joked about throwing a hoe at the dragons and becoming a dragon slayer. Fleo, always willing to indulge, told her it wasn't too late. She threw her hoe at a fleeing dragon, and with a boost from Fleo's magic, the dragon was instantly defeated, earning her the title of Dragon Slayer. The girls eagerly asked Fleo for help, but he told them that the dragons were already gone and there was nothing more to do. Eulimenes, defeated, fled while the Demon King watched the spectacle from his castle. He decided to head out personally to deal with this annoying adventurer and kill him and the traitor, Riss. The next day, the girls were still losing their minds over the whole Dragon Slayer thing. The witch even dragged out the same legendary hoe Fleo enchanted, treating it like Excalibur. Banaza, tired of being stuck inside character limbo, stormed outside, declaring she was off to the forest to punch destiny in the face. Despite her daily training grind, she hadn't leveled up a bit, but that didn't stop her from imagining that snagging the Dragon Slayer title might restore her family's tanked noble status. Mid-rant about life being unfair, some random mysterious guy strolled up, no weapons, no sweat, just vibes. Major plot twist energy. He casually mentioned looking for someone's wife, setting Banaza's alarm bells off like a busted security system. She drew her sword, ready to unalive him. The guy, unfazed, promised he just wanted to chat. Rolling her eyes but staying on guard, she agreed to pass along his weird message. Ask Riss about tea in old times? The guy told her to ask Riss about tea in old times before sauntering off like some loner who'd wandered into the wrong story. Weird as hell. When Riss and Fleo showed up later, Banaza blurted out the demon encounter, nearly spiraling when Fleo casually dropped that it was probably the Demon King himself. Fleo stayed chill while Banaza looked like she was about to lose her mind. The next morning, trouble didn't wait. Riss opened the door to find the Demon Lord himself standing there like it was no big deal. She looked ready to throw hands, but Fleo, ever the calm one, waved her off and invited him in. Gol, the Demon Lord, looked almost amused that no one was running for their lives. In the guest room, Fleo poured tea while Banaza clung to the wall like a scared loser, eyes darting everywhere. Gol cut straight to the point, offering Fleo a spot in the demon army. Fleo shut that down without hesitation, saying he didn't give a shit about their war and wasn't about to get involved in a mess he didn't understand. Gol didn't look pissed, just curious, as if Fleo was some wild card he hadn't figured out yet. The Demon Lord explained the battle had begun 500 years ago when an influential person from another world became the first Demon Lord. He raised his voice against humans, treating demons as second-class citizens, leading to a war. Though he didn't seek to kill humans or control the world, he warned that if humans targeted demons, he wouldn't stand by. He asked Fleo if he still wanted to join the Demon King army, but Fleo calmly refused. Impressed by his stubbornness, the Demon Lord left, promising to return. The girls found Banaza knocked out from fear. The following day, she was terrified to see the Demon King dining with Riss and Fleo, so she ran off. The Demon King invited her for a walk, but she again ran away, claiming she needed to practice. Days later, he tried again, but she ran off. In the kingdom, the king's blood boiled when reports of a demon visiting Fleo's cottage hit his ears. No way was he letting some rogue mage cozy up to the enemy. Furious, he ordered the army to burn Fleo's home and wipe out anyone standing with him. The princess tried to knock some sense into him, arguing they should at least talk to Fleo first. She warned that pushing him could drive him straight into the Demon Lord's arms. The king, too proud and stubborn, shut her down with a sneer, telling her to stick to kitchen duties.
Go back in the kitchen.
The blonde hero, itching for action, stepped up with a smug promise to handle it. He asked for troops, claiming he'd try diplomacy but wouldn't hesitate to kill everyone if Fleo didn't play along. The next morning, Riss brought up the obvious. Fleo wasn't taking sides because he didn't want to kill her kin. Fleo admitted it but added that demons weren't the big evil boogeymen everyone painted them as. Before they could dive deeper, an archer crashed in, shouting about the kingdom's army at their doorstep. At first, Riss thought the Demon Lord had betrayed them, but no, it was the king's forces, led by the blonde hero strutting around like he owned the place. He gave Fleo an ultimatum: join the humans and fight for glory, or refuse and be branded a traitor before getting wiped off the map. Fleo, unbothered as hell, rejected both options. Fighting a war that didn't make sense wasn't his style. The hero doubled down, claiming neutrality made him a demon-loving traitor, but Fleo didn't flinch. The girls backed him, calling out the ridiculousness of the situation. The hero sneered, declaring them traitors too, but dangled a deal. They'd be spared if they could get Fleo to change his mind. If not, everyone was toast. That's when Banaza, of all people, stepped up. She admitted she used to think demons were pure evil, but meeting Riss and the others had flipped her perspective. They weren't just monsters, they had feelings and lives. Her words struck a nerve, but the hero wasn't swayed. Fleo kept his cool, telling the hero he wouldn't fight against humans or demons but wasn't staying in this mess either. Riss and the others refused to leave him, standing their ground. The hero laughed it off, thinking it was some weak bluff. But Fleo, tired of everyone's shit, casually used teleportation magic to move his house, fields, and the whole party to a new location. The army stood there, dumbfounded, as the hero fumed. Fleo had just flipped them all the ultimate magical middle finger. The Demon King returned, furious to see Fleo's party gone. He transformed into a demon and ordered the demon army to attack the kingdom and take control, scaring the hero. Meanwhile, Fleo and the girls safely landed in a new location and were amazed to find their fields intact. Rhys announced a feast to celebrate the move and they headed inside to help, unaware that war was coming. The news of the impending attack stunned the king. He asked his ministers about the situation and they reported that the demon army had infiltrated the northern forests and was advancing. He had asked about the hero's location but the minister had said he fled in fear of the demon king. Knowing no other option to save the country, the king had ordered the mages to prepare a massive purification spell to cast on the forest, hoping to kill or damage most demons. Meanwhile, the demon king, furious over the chaos, had been asked by Eulymenes for their next move. 2 underlings had arrived with the news and the demon king had ordered the troops to retreat from the jungle. Eulymenes had been surprised at the swift action but the demon king had explained that they had to protect the demons from the kingdom's potential purification spell. Elsewhere, in the heart of the kingdom, mages gathered in the palace, chanting the purification spell. The head wizard, sweating bullets, focused all his energy on supercharging the damn thing. He needed this spell to hit hard, wiping out every demon in sight. With one final incantation, the wizard unleashed the spell, covering the entire kingdom in a massive magic circle that would purify anything, demon or not. The kingdom trembled as the magic spread like wildfire. Back at the cottage, Fleo returned from the town, greeted by Rhys, who asked if the trip had been worth it. Fleo sighed, shaking his head, admitting he couldn't find any decent business leads. But he had plans to dive into armor production the next day. Just as he was about to settle into some peace and quiet, Muscle Mommy interrupted, her voice booming like usual. She was all fired up about helping with armor sales to support the household. The redhead archer was next to speak up, claiming she could make a killing breeding horses. She was determined to set up a stable and rake in some serious cash. Fleo, intrigued by the idea, let her explain. She had once been an apprentice horse groomer, and the thought of working with horses excited her more than anything. Fleo, always supportive, suggested they build a huge stable nearby. The archer beamed with excitement, and for a brief moment everything felt like it was falling into place. Meanwhile, the wizard and Balarasa were sitting off to the side, heads down, feeling completely useless. Fleo shot them a look and tried to lift their spirits, telling them that their time would come too, but for now they needed to focus on improving their combat skills. The following day, the princess made her way to the royal hospital. She was greeted with assurances that the purification magic had driven off the demon army, at least for a couple of months. But the princess wasn't buying it. With a sharp glance, she reminded the ministers that all of the kingdom's mages had exhausted their mana, meaning they were out of commission for a while. They couldn't rely on the demon king just sitting around and waiting. She announced that she was taking command since her father was incapacitated. The ministers quickly agreed, eagerly awaiting her plan. She delivered her first decree with a fierce gaze. The hero was stripped of his title. His cowardice in fleeing at the sight of the demon king was unforgivable. That evening, the hero returned, dragging his maid behind him. As they tried to enter, a guard blocked their path, informing him that the princess had made her decision. The hero, red-faced and furious, tried to throw his weight around, threatening the guard. But the guard, unimpressed, casually tossed the hero's belongings at him and walked away, leaving the hero standing there like a fool. The next day, all the girls decided to show their appreciation for Rhys and Fleo by cleaning the house, and of course, getting them out on a date. Rhys, with a grin on her face, yanked Fleo into town like a kid pulling their parent to the candy store. They spent the day wandering around, stuffing their faces with street food and just enjoying the hell out of each other's company. Fleo had realized he needed to do more than just thank Rhys for always having his back, so he offered to buy her something nice, maybe make her feel special for once. Rhys was pumped, but she had never really gotten a gift before, so she had no damn clue what to pick. Her eyes locked on a jewelry cart, and there it was, a blue brooch that screamed, "This is it." The seller had thrown in his 2 cents, saying it would look amazing on her, and without wasting a second, Fleo had bought it, slapped it on her and told her she was beautiful. After a killer day of fun, they made their way home and Rhys, completely enchanted by the brooch, couldn't stop staring at it like some lovesick loser. Eventually she passed out, still clutching it. Fleo, smiling like an idiot, just turned over and went to sleep, happy he could make her day. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom, the so-called hero had been sneaking around the castle, knocking out guards like some low-level thug, all so he could raid the royal treasury. He was desperate to find some magical item to give him back his hero status and live like the rich bastard he used to be. As he searched, he heard a voice in his head, calling him toward a wall. The maid, trailing behind, was freaked out and heard nothing, but the idiot hero realized the voice wasn't coming from anywhere in the room, it was in his damn head. The voice promised to give him anything he wanted and led him to some hidden chamber. Inside he found a sword stuck in the ground like some legendary shit. The voice told him to pull it out, and after struggling like a fool, he managed to yank it free. But when he did, a whirlwind of raw power blasted him out of the room. And boom, out of nowhere, a djinn appeared before him, offering to grant his wish. Meanwhile, the princess had summoned the legendary oracle to brainstorm a way to deal with the demon king. But before they could even get a word in, a magical collar appeared on nearly everyone in the hall, throwing them off guard. The princess wasn't stupid though, she immediately recognized the collar as the brand of sacrifice, a mark that could only appear when someone had made a wish to the damn jinn. She recalled a historical event when a king had wished for jinn to defeat the demon king, resulting in the death of half the population as payment for the wish. The princess had turned to the oracle, asking what they should do next. The oracle, using her blackjack skills, had suggested they find the real hero, Fleo, who had already been summoned and might be their only hope. The princess had realized the oracle was talking about Fleo, who had previously rejected the king's request for help. Determined, she had decided to meet Fleo personally and ask for his assistance. Meanwhile, Fleo sold one of his dragon shields to an armorer at a reasonable price and established a trade route for further sales. After leaving the shop, he had thanked Banaza for showing him the store. Just then, Fleo had received a warning about a jinn approaching him. The jinn, named Haya, had appeared behind him and had revealed that the hero's first wish had been to kill Fleo in hopes of regaining his title. Without hesitation, Jinn had raised her hand to deliver a death blow, but Riss had leaped in front of Fleo, taking the hit herself. She had collapsed, bleeding from her chest, telling Fleo to run. The jinn had unleashed a barrage of explosive magic, but Fleo's auto-defense had shielded him from harm. He had tried to heal Riss but had failed, as her wounds had been too severe. The jinn had then cast a legendary class spell, obliterating everything around them. Yet, Fleo had remained unharmed. Laying Riss down, his anger had surged as he had stood, vowing to destroy Jinn and blast her into a million pieces for killing someone he loved. Reflecting on Riss's unwavering support, Fleo silently vowed vengeance against Haya for harming her. He shocked everyone by using time reversal magic to undo Riss's injuries, an act that defied what should have been possible for any mere human. Enraged by the harm inflicted on Riss, Fleo physically attacked Haya, who boasted of having mastered all magic. However, Fleo overwhelmed her with his infinite skills, proving she was no match for him. As Fleo relentlessly pummeled Haya, Riss began to stir, unharmed, thanks to Fleo's quick actions. Banaza had explained the whole thing, and while Riss was deeply moved by Fleo's protective fury, a part of her couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing in him. She feared he was becoming a monster, driven only by revenge. Haya, bloodied and begging for mercy, was reminded by Fleo of her role in Riss's injury. Though Fleo was on the verge of ending Haya's life in retaliation, Riss intervened, her voice firm, reminding him of the compassion that had always defined him. Fleo, touched by Riss's words, slowly calmed, and the two embraced, the air thick with unspoken emotions. Meanwhile, the princess, exhausted from a failed teleportation attempt, remained adamant that they still needed to find the true hero. The sudden disappearance of the collars of sacrifice confused everyone, leaving them wondering if the spirit's wish had truly been fulfilled or if something far more sinister was at play. Back at the castle, guards were preparing to confront the intruder in the treasury. Suya's heart sank, execution was inevitable. Dominus, however, had a different plan. The spirit, now fully in control of the hero, transformed him into a monstrous being. Dominus, filled with rage, vowed revenge on those who had imprisoned her and noticed the teleportation circle freshly used. She smirked, realizing her work was far from finished. Fleo woke to Riss's plea to spare Haya, only to be shocked by the sight of Haya healed, standing there with fear creeping into her eyes. Riss and Fleo exchanged uncertain looks, knowing neither the castle's knights nor the town's authorities could handle the situation. Fleo suggested they seal Haya away in the treasury again, using their newfound ability to read her mind. Haya, now aware of the magic at play, recognized it as projection magic and feared the consequences. Riss proposed something more drastic, making Haya Fleo's servant to keep her under control and use her powers for their advantage. Fleo hesitated, unsure about enslaving Haya, but Riss, frustrated with her own perceived weakness, insisted it was the only choice. Reluctantly, Fleo agreed, making it clear that Haya's compliance was the only way he would ever consider forgiving her. With a heavy heart, Fleo offered forgiveness, surprising even himself. Haya, still reeling from the turn of events, begrudgingly acknowledged Fleo as a supreme being with infinite skills, including epiphany magic, an ability that absorbed any spell cast upon him. Riss, upset by the potential consequences of Fleo's plans, questioned his thoughts on using time reversal magic, which Haya explained was far beyond human capability. In response, Fleo decided on a different path: repair magic. He would restore the town that had been left in ruins, choosing to rebuild instead of further fueling the cycle of destruction. To everyone's surprise, Haya introduced herself as Fleo's servant, leaving Fleo uncertain about handling her presence. Banaza reassured them, likening Haya's integration into their lives to living with a stray cat, unexpected but manageable. That night, Fleo reflected on his newfound power, uncertain about how to wield it. Banaza empathized with him, reflecting on her uncertainties about alliances and enemies. Grateful to Fleo and Riss for helping her find a new path, Balarasa thanked Fleo for his unwavering support. Later, Fleo sensed Riss's unease and she finally asked if he planned to return to his old world now that he could use spirit magic. She pleaded with him to take her with him, but Fleo reassured her that he would not leave her behind, as he believed his world would be far too harsh for someone like her. Suddenly, Fleo surprised Riss by proposing they marry for real, admitting his fear of losing her. Overwhelmed by this gesture, Riss confessed she had felt like his wife since they first met. They shared a heartfelt moment, sealing it with a passionate kiss. Riss suggested that Fleo no longer needed to hide his true form, but he embraced his current self, finding peace in who he had become. They were startled to find Haya in the room, who calmly explained that she was merely observing as Fleo's servant. This initially angered Riss until Fleo calmed her, assuring her that Haya meant no harm. A few days passed and the princess continued searching for the fallen hero, Fleo, roaming the village for clues but found nothing.